bunch of young boys as well.
The young boys.
Yeah, I don't know. But you know what? It always comes back to that thing, right? It always comes back to what does this mean for the Toronto Maple Leafs? It's incredibly incestuous, this whole coaching thing.
We're in Toronto.
Yeah. Well, that's all we care about, right? But you know what? I'll tell you what's out there. Not much. Unless you want the most surprised coach with the greatest duster in the history of coaching, Paul McLean. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think he makes his way down here. Milesman's sort of out there, but he's going to San Jose. Well, okay. Where else do we look? Who else is out there? Adam Oates.
I think
want Adam Oates to coach here.
I think DeBoer. I think he's a good coach. Pete DeBoer is a good coach. A guy can instill some sort of defensive style. But if you're a Maple Leaf fan and you look at both those situations in Buffalo and in Edmonton, you would kill to have one of those situations right now.
Thanks, George.
No, but
of course.
But it's like, it's unbelievable. But we're only a month removed from saying, what if the Leafs win the Connor McDavid thing? What if they get Mike Babcock? Then we can fast forward the rebuild. It's going to be good here
in fantasy land a month ago, and you're right, a month ago we had Connor McDavid and Mike Babcock here in Toronto, and that was going to change everything, and it was going to speed the timetable up. Now we have neither. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. Nada.
That was a lot of dreaming. The reality was... But those are both. But if the Leafs do win the draft lottery, I think there's a hell of a better chance for Mike Babcock to come here to coach that guy. More balls at a 14 at the end.
Just to confirm a couple of things, just to kind of solidify, just to put the nail in the Leafs coaching coffin, Matthew Caller of WGR 550 in Buffalo reported the Sabres offer is in the $50 million range. Apparently, we were nowhere near that. Kipper said the Sabres haven't given Babcock a timetable to accept the offer, but things could end soon. As Babcock said, he hopes to make his decision by Wednesday morning, reporting to a friend of his, who's also a reporter in Detroit from the Free Press. Her name is Helen St. James, saying, ask Mike Babcock if he is leaving Detroit. Babcock said, quote, not sure, no by morning. That was yesterday, so we'll find out today, apparently.
Right, in the wings of, same article, I believe, from the Detroit Free Press, wings of Babcock. 4 years at $3.25 million. Some think they might go up to $4 if need be, but I think the Red Wings, they're ready to move on if need be. Blashill's got a lot of pedigree in the minors. A lot of guys have won in the AHL with him.
Right.
It might not be the worst thing to have a new voice in Detroit, especially one like him. So,
and you know what? You bring up a good point.
He doesn't play. He doesn't play.
Yeah.
All this money for a coach.
And Brady yesterday tweeted. He knows the organization inside out, and being from there, he said Illich won't get into a bidding war with something he believes is already his. So, and you know what? There's one consistent thing in Detroit that will stay there, and that's Ken Holland. Ken Holland and the group that's there, Jimmy Devellano, they've done a great job and continue to do a great job of not just bringing along and finding talented players, but I'm sure they're doing the same thing with coaches. It's not a stupid organization.
Well, the frustrating thing if you're a Leaf fan is, and Fabro said it, you can't, he doesn't play on the ice, but if there's one thing the Leafs can do what there isn't a salary cap against, it's coaching.
Yeah, I know.
He's the best coach, so if the Leafs wanted to,
doesn't matter.
$60 million.
But it doesn't matter.
I don't know what the amount of money would be to get this guy here.
I agree, but maybe that time comes in 3 years when this team is ready to compete. Like, you bring Mike Babcock here at this time, you're spending a lot of money at the coaching position for what? You want to develop, unless he's here for the next 10 years, right? Mike Babcock can coach his ass off here, and what? You kind of want them to finish last coming year, right? It's a rebuild.
I get that, but that argument doesn't fly because the Sabres are rebuilding.
Right, but they've been rebuilding for 2 years.
But they're quicker to.
They could be a playoff team of the year.
Five or six teams are doing the same thing. Phoenix is doing the same thing. Toronto's doing the same thing. Everybody, for the better part, Edmonton's doing the same thing. I mean, everybody is rebuilding that had a terrible year that didn't make the playoffs. Everybody's tough. And if you didn't make the playoffs, you're on the
last in the queue.
Yeah.
Right?
I wouldn't mind if they finished last, too. Where's Ted Nolan when you need him? Let's bring up Peter Horachuk again. Where's Peter Horachuk? Anyway, we'll continue to talk about it and take your calls. How do you feel about Mike Babcock not coming to Toronto after we got that news yesterday? He is headed to the Sabres. Apparently. Allegedly. and we'll make that decision later on this morning. $50 million. Anyway, we'll get to that. And your calls. How do you feel about Mike Babcock not coming here to your Toronto Maple Leafs a little later on in the show? We had a playoff hockey game yesterday. The Stanley Cup playoffs continued. The West Conference final yesterday, Blackhawks, Anaheim Ducks in overtime. 1 overtime, 2 overtime. In the third overtime with about 3.5 minutes left, Marcus Kruger scored a goal on rebound, and it was the longest game in Chicago